Welcome, everybody. I am Laura DeFranco, the CEO of Brave Healer Productions, where we have a mission to change the world one brave word at a time around here. I am a book publisher, and it is my greatest honor to publish world-changing wellness books that honor the business success of my authors as much as the healing journey of our readers. You are going to find that our books have an awareness and energy that inspires your biggest, juiciest, best possible life. And I am so excited. I have a special treat for you today. Some of the co-authors of a new book by lead author Amy Gillespie Doherty called The Ancestors Within, Reveal and Heal the Ancient Memories You Carry, are with me here today to talk about ancestral healing. Oh my gosh, you guys, reading this book took me to another level of possibility when it comes to healing. I'm so excited to be introducing you to the amazing authors and master teachers stepping up in this book with their wisdom and expertise and total badassery. So today, please help me welcome Marcia Reichert, Ivy Haywood, and Dr. Allison Brown. Hi, ladies.
Hello.
I'm happy to have you here. So, a human who walks between worlds, gathering information, channeling it to the client while singing them into a trance, walking with them through darkness and back to step into their magic, is Marcia Colver Reichert. Ivy Haywood is creator of Haywakeup. I've never read that before. I love that so much. Hey, wake up! Mind, body, spirit wellness, where she helps guide others through their ascension journey. And Dr. Allison Brown is an author, Reiki Master, and Quantum Healing Practitioner who works with her clients using a unique blend of metaphysical practices and traditional counseling technique. And of course, you guys, I'm going to have these amazing experts hooked up with their websites down below in the show notes for you. Y'all, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for saying yes to this project. Thank you for being trailblazers in terms of helping people understand what's possible in terms of their healing. I can't wait to share your journeys with everybody. Marcia, I'm going to start with you today. Talk to us about this beautiful chapter that you wrote.
Well, thank you for having us on here too. It's spectacular. The chapter that I wrote is all about the energy strings that go between everything that we do. It might be between generations, it might be between lifetimes, and it influences us. They attach to our soul, and when we discover those, we can help them heal so that they are clear energy strings and love flows through rather than all the muck and the yuck.
Energy strings. Can you tell us a little bit more about that for somebody who doesn't know what you're talking about?
I can, yes. I see them as like a spider web. So if you have, for instance, some kind of trauma that your grandmother has been through, so say she was abused in a certain way, then generally that's passed on, that energy is passed on through the family to the daughter and then the granddaughter, and it keeps going and going, and that curse keeps happening. It is like a curse. So what we do when we discover these things, it might not even look like a line of energy for other people, but it looks like a line for me. So when I've been able to find those and pull those strings and unravel that, then it pulls the strings off of their heart that is holding their heart, and they can live more freely. They can get rid of the attachment that they have to that particular abuse. And sometimes it is a physical curse, which is interesting too.
Thanks for giving that example. When you all describe how it is for you personally, you're also helping other people who see things, know things, hear things, understand what it is they're actually sensing. So I love it, Marcia, when you describe this in the terms of how you see it or feel it or know it. And in the myofascial release world, which is where I come from, we envision the lines of pull of actual connective tissue, fascia, through the body from the head to the toes. And so you're just making me think of that when you talk about the energy strings. And like what you said, they're not always great because they can be restrictive and binding. Right. So tell me a little bit more about why that's important to understand what these strings are.
Well, when we have these things recurring in our lives, we tend to go through the same thing over and over and over. So it could be some kind of, like, even getting a boyfriend, you end up with the same boyfriend over and over and over, the same kind of abuse, the same kind of energy. When you figure out what it is that's affecting you and why you choose that kind of boyfriend, then you can let all that go, unravel those strings. And by the way, I'm trained in myofascial release too, so I totally get what you're saying.
Excellent.
Then you can let all those go, let that trauma go, and move into a space where you find the boyfriend that you want, you know, somebody that treats you right, somebody that treats you like the golden goddess that you are, rather than the doormat, right?
Yes, right, exactly. So repeating negative patterns in your life is a theme that's come up with every one of our interviews so far. And of course, it's in a minute, we're going to talk about awareness. But I think this is one of the foundational awarenesses when we talk about ancestral healing. So I just wanted to mention that. Robin, tell me a little bit about your beautiful chapter.
Yes. Well, thank you. I'm excited to be part of this book. There's so many amazing stories. I love how they all kind of, you know, like blend together so beautifully. So the piece that I wrote about really was during a time that I was in major transition. I had just moved and to New Hampshire and was really in a place of transition. So I was deep in looking at codependent patterns. I had just finished an intensive energy healing year-long practice as well. I had been studying Reiki and things like that. So I love, Marcia, what you had said. It is so interrelative to that in the unwinding. So it's about my journey through that hard period of my life of looking at those codependent patterns. And during that process, I really started to connect in with some deeper wisdom with the ancestors. And I was studying with a shaman at the time, and I created an ancestor altar. And my grandfather's picture had kept falling off the altar. And finally, one day, I stopped and I picked his picture up and I just sat there. And I heard. And we had an abuse of sexual trauma has run in our family lineage. And he was an abuser of my aunt. And so during this message, so in the story, you know, I write about the message that comes through, and then my journey after that to help heal that for our family. So, you know, once again, it shows how those harder negative patterns, but of course we can also have beautiful, you know, beautiful ancestral patterns as well. But that's basically about that. So it's about, you know, I learned to listen. I really started listening to my ancestors, and I started taking the steps. And so the chapter's about my journey, and then also starting to connect in with my deeper lineage, not just here in my earthly form, but also in my star lineage, which is something that have been starting to embrace more and more. And so that's part of the practice that I help people navigate through. They start having those inner knowings of, oh, I come from, you know, the stars. And so that's in my chapter. I just start to touch, you know, a little bit about what I heard once on this journey.
So a lot of you authors talk about your altars. And I just wondered if you would spend a moment talking about why the altar. What does that do for you in terms of how you're using it for this whole ancestral healing thing?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great question. I look at it as a creative process. So not only a creative tool, but also a healing aspect. There's definitely a healing aspect and an honoring aspect of it. And so my creative process, I mean, I have several different altars that I'll, create with, but my ancestor altar in particular, I'll have pictures of my ancestors and create little, little mementos or dried flowers and water, or may light a candle. So it's a space for me for creativity, to honor them, and for healing, as well as to sit and meditate and, just to kind of tune in, check in, and see what's going on.
Thank you. Thank you for that. One of the things I love the most is hearing you all talk personally about the tool in your own life, and so that we can just have a window into how these things are used. And because if I lined up 100 people, there'd be 100 different answers about how to use an altar. And so sometimes, and that's really behind the books as well. We talk about ancestral healing, and there's a million ways we can talk about connecting with our ancestors. It's why I love the books so much, because it gives people hope. If they've tried 10 things, well, you haven't tried the 11th thing. And I have the 12th and 13th and 14th also. So, there's no losing hope here, right? With that many things that we can try. Dr. Allison Brown, talk to us about your amazing chapter.
Well, first of all, I want to say as well, I am so thrilled to be a part of this book. I'm so thrilled to be on this panel with the three of you, especially my friend Marcia, that I know and have received some beautiful healing work from. So I concur that she's amazing. But what else is interesting about the colleagues in this book is that we do all come from, we attack the problem, so to speak, from different paradigms. So when Marcia talks about these strings of energy physically going on from generation to generation, what I see in my work with ancestral karma in the spiritual hypnosis work that I do, it's not so much physical strings of energy that way, as much as the scripts that we write with the people in our lives, or any karmic relationships that we have to balance out from previous lives. So it's a subtle difference. And it's fantastically amazing how all of this stuff works. And I have to say that in my chapter, I talk about how this all came to be for me. Now, I wasn't raised woo-woo. I was raised in a conservative Christian framework. My husband was not raised in a religious framework at all, but not woo-woo either. And during his very first spiritual hypnosis session, he is what we call a somnambulist. He went completely into trance, which is about 5% of the population. Not many people do that. He went completely under and started channeling his spirit guides. And so had it not happened directly to our family, I'd probably think I was wacko. I mean, I would really, not only that, I was going to hell for sure, right?
Exactly.
So, I mean, when it's in your face like that and you can't deny it, it's such a beautiful thing. And so that's what I talk about in my chapters, how this all came to be and why I know that spiritual hypnosis works, because it worked for us and his family. So that led me down the path of becoming a practitioner myself, partly to help him channel, which during our very first channeling session, his team said, no, it's not just for Will, it is for people, the general public. Are going to be helping a lot of people through this practice. And so what I have found in the sessions that I have done over the past couple of years is that a lot of people don't realize when they present with an issue, they don't have any idea that it's ancestral in nature. They really don't. They think they just can't pick, like Marcia said, a good boyfriend. They don't understand why they keep picking these same patterns, going through these same patterns. And so when we get them into that relaxed state and we can speak to their higher self and or their guides or their ancestors, we find out what they scripted for their life. What was the lesson they were trying to learn? Why did they choose to come into an ancestral family? What was it they were trying to tackle or balance or take care of in this lifetime? And so that itself is so healing. Just the knowledge, just the awareness in that respect can allow a place for forgiveness. Not that you have to continue to live with the abuser or be abused or any of that, but when you understand why it happened, you can open your heart to possibly forgiving because you're approaching it from a different non-human level.
Yes, with an exclamation point. Okay, so I'm gonna stick with you for this next question, because, and I'm gonna come around to all of you with this, but this just fits so perfectly with what you just said. And I absolutely love, like, I am turned on by understanding what else is possible in terms of healing. And out of all of the subjects, ancestral healing just is doing that for me and for a lot of people. So Allison, talk to us about, so you just did a little bit, but continue on something that you realized was possible in terms of healing when it came to just first starting to dabble with ancestral healing.
Well, coming at this also from a counseling background, because I'm a school counselor by day, so I have had therapeutic counseling training. And so it's a kind of a unique blend and a very nice blend, because I understand therapeutic counseling and I understand that that's really just a Band-Aid in terms of, yes, you can be a functioning adult if you've been abused as a child. However, it never really goes away. It doesn't really heal. You just learn to cope. You learn coping mechanisms, you have Band-Aids, you have things that you can do to function. But unless you approach these problems from a spiritual underlying level, then you're never really going to heal it, where it goes away and it doesn't impact you anymore. And you actually can get to the point where you thank. I don't like saying thank your abuser because I understand how difficult it is, but when you see it from God's perspective, from the spiritual realm, you really do thank those people that put those roadblocks, whatever little roadblocks, in your way, because you understand it is for your growth and your learning. And those people, in their very essence, are a divine piece of source themselves. They just have a veil, so they don't know it. So they're acting this role, they're acting a part, they're playing a role for you. You're playing a beautiful dance together for your learning and your growth. So in terms of what is possible, anything is possible. Anything and everything is possible. I've had things as simple as cat allergies go away. I know that's not allergic. I mean, allergies are not necessarily ancestral related, but I have also had some people that have, presented with terribly mixed up family relationships and trauma and things like that have been completely healed and forgiven because they understood, they saw past lives where maybe this person who was abused in this life was the perpetrator in the other life. And so they're playing out this balance. And karma doesn't mean payback. Karma means balance. So we have to understand all pieces, all perspectives of a particular issue. And so when you understand that this time you're playing the victim role and last time you played the perpetrator role, it just opens your awareness and possibilities for healing. So to answer your question in a nutshell, anything, Laura, is possible. Anything and everything.
I love that. I wrote down earlier when you said karma balancing, I wrote that term down because I thought that I always hear of it in terms of, well, not with the word balance attached to it. It's always about, I don't know, settling the score of it somehow, Did you want to say anything else about that in terms of balancing?
Well, I think that is definitely a concept that needs to be understood. It is not at all. We say karma is a you-know-what, right? That is such a negative term that we have associated with the word karma. It's not about that at all. And my husband being a channel now, thanks to spiritual hypnosis, I've been able to get information and an explanation about this, where if you wanted to learn about compassion, perhaps one life you come in as a disabled child who needs compassion. The next time you come in as the mother of a disabled child so that you can provide that compassion. Then the next time perhaps you come in as a physician who deals with them and you don't have much compassion for that child or whatever. So you're learning about compassion in all these different ways. It isn't about, somebody wasn't compassionate to me this time, so I'm going to be, non-compassionate in the next life. It's not about payback. It's about understanding a concept from all these different perspectives.
I love that explanation. Thank you. And if y'all aren't doing anything aside from giving us perspective, right? It's what a huge gift that is, to understand something in a different way than you've been conditioned to understand it in the past. That is life-changing gifts right there. Robin, talk to me, same question. So what was something that you realized was possible in terms of healing when you dabbled with the ancestors?
Yeah, I love that. And I love that perspective. And that was so eloquently put, Allison, on the karma balancing. And that's actually, I remember when Spirit back in like 2012 gave me the name of my company, Haywakeup. And it's like, there's multiple facets, and we need to start educating people that there are those multiple facets of opportunity for healing. It's not just one or two dimensional. There's many layers to it. So I'm kind of on a roll here. So I'm just going to go with this. One of the pieces that I've been weaving in since opening this bridge up and listening more to my star lineage and ancestral lines that way is that I've learned that not only do we have the pieces of the karmic balancing or rebalancing, the power, the love, the harmony, the grace, and the peace, is that there's this level that I have started to tap into, that it's also balancing some people say it as galactic lineage, or our cosmic, our Christed lineage, our ancestral line. I mean, it doesn't have to mean Christianity, but it certainly can mean Christianity when I say Christed. And so I've really been weaving that into my healing practice and working with clients that, we're going this way as well, and healing what's the karmic patterns that if I was a being, on another planet, what karmic cycles or lessons am I healing in physical form in me as Robin, Ivy Haywood, that relates to this other aspect of myself on another planet or in another galaxy. So that has been a whole other shifting and element that opening up to ancestral healing and looking at the multifaceted ways has brought forward in my practice, and working with people to help them move forward and, in a healthier, more balanced, loving way. So
I love that. You said it earlier too. You said, we're not only dealing with negative, repetitive patterns, we're dealing with beautiful patterns. And I'm pretty sure you're the first person who has said that. And I really appreciate that, because a lot of the times we see the possibilities because we see what we need to heal. That's a gift, being able to see it in the first place. We're going to talk about that awareness in just a moment. But also understanding the possibility of, you probably just blew a few people's minds talking about galactic possibilities. Right. But that's why I love you guys so much, because we can have conversations like this and y'all are nodding your head. And right, the more of us we get on here live nodding our head to ideas like that, the more other people listening are going to think, oh, maybe I should be nodding my head to that too. Right. Like, this is possible. I love it. I love that. Thank you for that part of that explanation. Marcia, what do you have to say about this?
Well, people have gone really big, and I love you too. This is the best panel. Thank you. So I wanted to do something really, really specific. So my great-grandmother felt like she was trapped in her life a little bit. The story that I've heard anyway was that she came over from Norway as an orphan. So pretty tough life. Then she ended up eventually in Eastern Montana with my great-grandfather. And they had this little tiny plot of land in the midst of these huge plots of lands that their neighbors had. And then my grandmother grew up in that, grew up in a very hard life. Everything was a struggle, you know. And then my mom grew up in that too. And when I came along, my life was pretty darn easy. But I still had all of those thoughts, those patterns, those things that everybody in my family believed. And so when I started to learn about this, which actually wasn't very long ago, comparatively, I think I started to learn about it in probably my early 40s. So about 10, 12 years ago. And I started to do all the healing on these levels. Then I started to bring up the power that they had, the strength, the stamina that they had surviving in Eastern Montana, which is high plains desert, hard to grow anything, hard to keep cattle. Comparatively, you can keep you can probably keep 10 cattle on 20 acres up here, where you could have 10 cattle on maybe 1 acre down south. So the struggle was real, and yet I could bring up the power from those ancestors and the strength and the magic that all those women had to be able to do that kind of thing and pull it off, you know. And then let go of the thought that I needed to stay in Montana, that I needed to never travel. I always had to be chained to my work. I am kind of chained to my work, but it's so much fun. And I get to do it everywhere now. I even get to travel overseas and do it. So that's been really super fun. And I'm so thankful that that could come into my life. And it can come into everybody's lives. So it's something everyone can do.
I love the awareness that you just laid down also just about, you know, I've got it pretty easy compared to generations past. And it's great to realize that. And at the same time, you know, we sit and we have all of those thoughts, worries, anxieties. And when you really are in the moment of your reality and you think, you know, I have it easy. Why are those anxieties hounding me? I think that's just something that we can tell people, hey, if that's what's happening to you and you don't know why, and it seems incessant, that this could be the pattern that we're talking about today, that you can free yourself from. And what a beautiful thing, right? To help people free themselves from that weird, I don't know why this is here kind of anxiety.
Right.
So you're just making me think about that.
And to me, I picture chains or strings or being tied up. You know, other people might picture, like Allison said, she comes at it from a very technical point of view, where she knows that those are patterns that we create in our mind, and it is in our mind either way. But I've tended to make a picture out of it so that people can see something tangible that they can break. You know, so
nice. Yes. Thank you, Marcia. Okay, I've got a question for all of you. I'm going to start with Robin for this one. So essentially, all of you are talking about awareness tools. You're giving the reader, first of all, an amazing, vulnerable window into you and your story and why you do what you do and love it so much. I can feel that in all of you. You love this and you love what you do. What a gift that you give to the people that you work with there. But you're helping people have a different kind of awareness. They wake up to something new, a new way to look at something, a different perspective. And then they get a choice because you gave them that gift. I think that's amazing. And it's kind of sounds silly to say awareness is important, right? Because it's foundational. Like if we're interested in the best, juiciest, full, most vibrant life, we have to have some kind of awareness practice. So Robin, talk to me about yours, on your personal journey. What has awareness meant to you? Why was it important? Yeah.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, that centering pause. And Marcia, I'm just going to play on this just a little bit. The key awareness is anxiety. So, it's my hope to bring awareness to when we're feeling anxiety. That's a key element for us to go, there's something here. That's, for me, the first awareness. What is it? What pattern is this? How can I approach this from a space of love, tenderness, breath? So bringing the breath, I know that that's huge in, so many of our practices, but also movement. And that's one of the elements that I bring in during the tool that I, talk about share in the book. But the awareness, where's the nervousness? Where's maybe the tension in the body? And then the pause. And I know we'll probably get to this, but this is coming to mind right now, so I'll just touch upon it. Extreme self-care. So that may mean, one of my saving graces has been taking sea salt and baking soda baths.
Mm-hmm.
What's up with the baking soda, Robin? I need to know this.
So you can take Epsom salt baths and things like that, but the sea salt and baking soda, it just helps cleanses our aura as well as our physical bodies in a whole different way. So it for me, it just brings another added element of relaxation and cleansing. It's a cleansing element. And I add crystals and I add essential oils in there. So that's a little sneak peek into one of the practices.
Yes, awesome. Yeah. And we're gonna talk about self-care in a minute. So Robin might have to tell us a little bit more about her baths.
Yeah. So did that answer the question, Laura?
Yes. What's so awesome is you all have different ways that you entered into awareness in the first place. Some of you as kids, some of you later in life. I don't know about you guys, although I hear the answer to this from a lot of you authors is, I've had the gifts forever. And I'm one of the people who has to say, I don't remember having the gifts forever. I remember being an adult and being finally taught what intuition meant. And being able to listen to my own feelings and emotions and thoughts and watching them and observing them and learning that those messages were moving through me. But where, maybe I did have that as a child, but I don't have memories of enjoying those gifts until much, much later in my life. So my awareness practice was a game changer, life changer. And I started to I did the cannonball into that because I was ready, so anyway, yes, Robin, everyone has a unique answer to this question. Marcia, I'm coming to you next with it. Talk to me about your personal awareness journey.
Well, for my life, I know now that I was seeing things very early and experiencing things in different ways than other people when I was little. But it took me until I was in my late 30s, I think, before I really realized. For one thing, I was working in the medical field. I was a medical transcriptionist. I I did all kinds of jobs, never felt like anything was really a career, but that felt like more of a career because I was making money. So in that, I got bucked off a horse, and I felt I needed some kind of therapy because I couldn't turn my neck, really. So I went to massage school. It triggered me to go to massage school. Massage school changed my life and my whole perspective on everything. I too grew up very Christian. I was very structured. I'm a Capricorn, Virgo Capricorn, so I'm very earthy and I like things in order. And I've had to learn that there's more out there. There's more than we could ever really wrap our heads around. So moving into this helped me see that I had all kinds of things going on. And then looking back in generations too, there are stories about my grandmother, one specific one, her telling a bunch of men that were working on the highway to move their equipment out of the creek, this tiny little creek, by the way, that's only about 3 feet wide, that it was going to flood and it was going to wash their equipment away. And of course, they thought she was crazy and she was only about 14 years old. So they didn't listen. And the next day they found their equipment ruined and downstream. So, you know, we've all had these gifts. I think my mother pushed them away more than anybody else, but she also unfortunately died early. So I didn't want to do that either. So it's been really, really cool and really healing.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I'll agree with you. That has been the most magical part of my healing journey, is realizing, trusting what I sense.
Yes.
Allison, talk to me about your personal awareness practice. How did that play out over the years for you?
So it's interesting. I think we all have those little intuitive niggles, the little inklings, but we don't give them credence. Like you said, we're not taught what it is or what it means or how to recognize it. And being a school counselor, I wish that we would do a lot more of that: body awareness, mindfulness, those practices. But when I was growing up in the Christian church, there were a lot of things that didn't make sense to me, didn't resonate. And I think those were intuitive hits, if you will. They were warnings that were telling me that what was going on wasn't resonating with my internal knowing. But I allowed it to be beaten out of me in terms of, I was too afraid when I would share those things. I was, reprimanded, don't ask those kind of questions in church, or, whatever. So it wasn't until in my 30s when I did have an intuitive, claircognizant moment that I was supposed to start a hands-on healing team in my church. Now, where that came from, I know where, but it came out of the blue. I mean, I wasn't in any kind of healing work other than being a counselor. I would go to church and that was about it. And God told me, go talk to your pastor about laying on hands on people and healing in that way. And so I did go to the pastor, and the pastor said, I knew someone was coming. And I said, well, I guess we got the same message. Pretty cool. And so I started a hands-on healing team. And that was the very first acknowledgement that I was being guided, and that I could have a direct line of communication, and that I was supposed to work in the healing arts. And so then, like you said, Laura, it's about trusting that and making time to hear it, because we all have those moments, those intuitive moments, but we don't quiet the mind to hear it. We are so busy running around, taking our kids to soccer practice, keeping up with the Joneses, working all day, making dinner, going to bed because we're exhausted. We keep ourselves so darn busy because of the societal expectations that we don't allow ourselves quiet. And the collective that I work with through my husband also has said, when they talk about quiet, they're not talking about silence. You don't have to sit in meditative silence. You have to quiet the mind such that the conscious mind steps out of the way, which is what we do in a more detailed process through the hypnosis. Whether that's gardening to the point where you don't hear somebody calling your name, or you're reading a book you don't hear somebody calling your name, whatever it is, so that the conscious mind steps aside and the unconscious the intuitive, the spiritual messages can get through. And so really being conscientious about making time now in my life for those types of activities, it's a daily practice, because again, we can get sucked in to the society role that we play and the things that we have to do and the obligations, being a mom, being a wife, whatever. And so it's really not that people can't get in touch with it. They have to make time for it. That's the bottom line.
Yes, I wrote that down just now too. It's not about only just hearing the messages, it's about making time to hear them. Oh, you are so right about that. I want everyone to hear that. Oh my goodness. Okay, so as we wrap up today, we'll do one more little speedy question. So you guys will have to help me do the speed dating version of this one, okay? I believe that one of my jobs as a healer, healthcare practitioner, coach, person who wants to help others in the world is to take exceptional care of myself so that I can serve from an overflow rather than being burned out, right? Priorities here. And so self-care is such a hot topic as of late, but it's a requirement. It's necessary if you want to do this work and like Marcia said, feel like it's not work and just be working in the joy every day. And that's what I've been able to experience. And balancing that is hard sometimes, right? And we all of us here, all of the authors of the book have figured out their own balance in terms of self-care. So one of mine may be surprise, is journaling. I love writing. I combine journaling with a nature scene, and I'm in my total bliss where I can breathe and channel words through me from some other magical space, right? That's part of my self-care routine. So Marcia, I'm going to start with you for this one. What's one of those things that you do for yourself that you come back to over and over again because it's so nourishing for you?
Well, getting out in nature, of course, is amazing. And everywhere I go, I try to get out in nature. So, but the thing that is different for me than than a lot of other people anyway, is singing, and singing to myself, but singing with the intention of going through and getting rid of the things that we don't need from the day, so and it doesn't matter when you're singing for yourself what you sound like, so don't tell me you can't.
I love it. I love it. Yeah.
Yourself, you're giving yourself a special form of love that is effective on several different levels. So just remember that, and I'll keep it quick.
I love that as a tool. And I hadn't really thought of putting the intention like that behind it to release, right? I mean, it is a release. It always feels really good, but I never paired it with the intentional thought of releasing something of the day that I needed to release. So I love that. Thank you. Allison, tell me about something in your self-care routine that is powerful for you.
Well, I love that, Marcia. I sing in my car and I don't care what I look like. And I agree with Laura. I think expressing ourselves creatively in whatever form that takes is the most important thing. And for me, it's writing. I love to write, not so much journaling. I have done a lot of that throughout the years, but writing now, books, getting information to people is critical. And it just feels so good to me. When I don't write, I get grumpy. If I go about a week or so without writing or not having the time, I get grumpy. So expressing creatively through my writing is the most important thing for me.
I love that and totally resonate. Thank you. And Robin, maybe the bath is it, but tell us about something.
I love nature for sure is a key thing. Art, the creative aspect. So that's, I sing as well. Like all of these are just great tools, and I utilize all of them. So I feel into, is it my singing bowl? And is it the channeling of light language or sounding, toning that wants to come through? Is it the movement? And lately art that has been an opener and a budding for myself. So that seems to get to a different level of calmness and peace.
I love it. Yeah, we're helping the listeners with ways to shift and raise the vibration, no matter what we're talking about. And there are probably, you know, as many ways as there are people on the planet, right? So we mentioned a few today, but just so you listeners know, there's a million more, and this book is full of tools, practical, effective tools that will help you do more than just shift your energy. Believe me. Oh my goodness. Ladies, thank you so much. Thank you for what you're doing in the world. Thanks for being here to share it with everybody. You're a badass.
Thank you. It was such a pleasure.
Thank you. Yes, it was fun.
Yeah.
So the Ancestors Within, everybody, it launches into the world on May 4th. And be sure to join us at 10 a.m. Eastern on the 4th for our live stream book launch party event on the Brave Badass Healers Facebook page, where all of our authors are going to be gathering to share their expertise and wisdom with you. And we're going to have some fun giveaways. And it's going to be a great event. You can find all of that information down below, as well as the websites of the experts that you were listening to today. So take the next step, go explore, see what they're up to in the world and what powerful things they have to offer you. And of course, if you're listening to this after May 4th, well, that means you need to get your butt over to Amazon, because the book is ready for you. Get your copy and give yourself that beautiful gift. And one other gift that Amy Gillespie is offering is a community on Facebook, you guys, where readers can come, rub elbows with your author experts, ask questions, be involved in the Ancestors Within community. And I'm going to hook you up with the link down below for that as well. So until next time, what if the thing you're still a little afraid to share is exactly the thing someone needs to hear to change or even save their life? It is time to be brave. Explore all the Brave Healer offerings for healers ready to share your brave words with the world at bravehealer.com. And we'll see you next time. Bye, ladies.
Bye. Thank you.